What's a piece of information you learned that now feels almost illegal to know? Fact 1. Read a personal finance book that recommended calling your providers once a year and demand a lower rate or price. I've been following that advice for 2 years and have not been denied once. Last week I saw a commercial for my internet provider offering a super low introductory rate, so I called to demand that I get that rate. They said no problem, and now I save an extra $700 a year because of a 5-minute call. I am a very passive introvert, so it's not the most easy or comfortable thing, but the money I save is worth it. They may so know initially, but if you ask a few times or ask to speak to their supervisor, they very usually give in. Edit. The book is called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Edit. No, this doesn't always work. Speaking from my own experience, it has worked with my cell phone provider, cable company, and credit card company. In other words, it's worth a try. You must be educated on what the current rates are and be specific on the phone. When they say no, ask to speak to a supervisor. I am also never rude or nasty. I just calmly state the rates that I want them and then ask to speak to a supervisor. Fact 2. While I'm in med school, and funny enough, learning how to not kill a person involves learning about a shit ton of ways to kill a person. Edit. Y'all are asking for examples. Understandable, so I'll provide some, in hope it's purely for academical purposes and innocent curiosity. There are a lot of very interesting ways to kill a person beside the obvious and boring gunshot. The most important one for a doctor being drug overdose, cause there are a lot of drugs that can totally kill you. In fact, basically anything could kill you if you assume too much of it. Hell, you could die of water overdose. If you drink too much water fast enough for your kidneys to not be able to filter it out, your blood will become too diluted to function and your blood pressure will skyrocket. To put up for this, your body will start storing excess water in places it shouldn't be, for example the brain, and the brain really doesn't like being compressed. You'll either die for cardiac failure due to excessive blood pressure, tissue death for lack of oxygen, or brain death for excessive intracranial pressure. Other fairly common substances and drugs that can kill you are potassium, paracetamol, air, and really a ton of other stuff. Another way I personally find so absurd it's almost funny is breaking the cribriform plate. Have you ever wondered how does the sense of smell work? You have thousands of tiny receptors on the very upper part of your nasal cavity, but those aren't connected to a nerve like it is for taste buds or pain receptors. Those are connected directly to your brain through a tiny bone strip that divides the base of your brain from the top of your nasal cavity, which is about as thick as a few paper sheets and full of tiny holes for the brain cells there to connect to the smell receptors. You basically have a bunch of brain cells dangling in your nose, and that bone is insanely easy to break. You just have to push a long enough stick upright in someone's nose. Also, in front of that bone there is another vertical bone segment that divides the left and right part of the nose cavity. If you punch someone's nose hard enough for that bone to be pushed backwards, it can actually perforate the skull. The brain damage coming from it may not be huge, but the nose is very dirty, and the immune system cannot reach the brain, which has other defenses against pathogens. If you break through the skull like that, you will push a ton of bacteria inside the brain, and the subject will very likely die from bacterial meningitis, an infection, after a few days. This is both how ancient Egyptians took the brains out of Pharaoh's body, and the reason why many body combat sports have banned nose and face punches. Also, contrary to popular belief, if you hang someone, they don't actually die from asphyxiation. Instead, their neck usually breaks, and there are 2 pretty big arteries going right through 6 out the 7 cervical vertebrae. Those arteries are usually snapped along with the bone structure, and the person dies because their brain doesn't get enough blood anymore, which usually happens before the subject can bleed out internally. I hope I satisfied a bit of your curiosity. Please do not kill anyone. Also, I'm just a first-year student, so if older med student or doctors want to point out mistakes or add something, please go ahead. Fact 3. It is illegal for a company to forbid you from discussing your wages with your coworkers. If you work through your lunch break, you are entitled to compensation. If you are expected to do work while you are on break, you're not on break. If your cash till doesn't lock, or if other people can get into your till, the company cannot dock your pay for missing cash. But Twill states can fire you for any bullshit reason. Stay safe, fellow wage slaves. Know your worth, know your labor laws, and cover your ass. Fact 4. Unionization saves you more money than it costs you. You cannot be punished for attempting to do so, and it is not in any way illegal, rude, or improper to discuss your salary with your coworkers. It feels illegal because every company on the fucking planet has tried to make people think unions are evil monsters trying to get you to pay union dues for no return. This is false because union dues are much less expensive than a company underpaying you and trying to work you to death, which a union fights against. Unions are there to prevent worker exploitation, stop it if people were being exploited when they got there, and get you a fair wage that will actually let you live off of one job instead of needing 4-5 or to work criminal amounts of overtime. Edit. Yes, I know this is mostly a US problem. I come from the US and it just feels frustrating that the word union is treated worse than any number of curse words in 99% of workplaces here. Also, to those who have given awards, holy shit, thank you so much. Never gotten one of these things before law. Fact 5. When a satellite television service updates your programming, the changed signal is only sent for a day or two. Satellite bandwidth is finite and expensive. So if you were to upgrade your service to get all the channels, disconnect your hardware after they all showed up, then called to downgrade and waited a few days, your system will miss the downgrade signal, and it could be years before any changes get made that would correct your lineup. Fact 6. When buying tires, pick out 2 of the main chain stores in my area, that is Discount Tire and Tires Plus, for example. Call one of them, get a tires quote for your vehicle, tire price, and mount it and everything. Make an appointment for like a week out. Call the other place, get the same tire quote. If this place is more expensive, tell them the other guys can do it for this and that, and they will beat it. If this second place is cheaper, book your appointment with them about a week out. Call the first place back to cancel your appointment. When they ask why, tell them it is because the other guys will do it for less. That is when this first place will mark down their price to beat the second place. After they do this, thank them and keep your appointment. Then call the second place back to cancel that appointment. When they ask why, tell them it is because the other guys will do it for less. If they lower their price again, thank them, keep your appointment. Call the first place and try one more time to get them to beat the second place's new lower price. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. This take a lot of phone calls, but last time I got a set of tires, I got them for nearly half off. Saved me nearly $400. Fact 7. I started learning about penetration testing and different types of both physical and software hackers. Do you know how insanely easy it is to get into a system? Like, right now, there is a public website on the normal internet that lists open ports, which are vulnerable entryways into your network if you don't have things secured properly. And since you have an open port like that, you probably don't have things secured properly. There have been hackers who didn't know any code. They just downloaded or rented software or servers. There is free open source DDoS code that's been around for over 20 years that still works. You can just go grab it right now. It's not illegal to have, just to use. As I started learning more about it, I started realizing that if I just put the money into buying a couple of clean devices and a few precautions, there are exploits that have been done in a very public manner that are still open. And you don't even need to be good at code to exploit them. It's all out there how to do it. And it's easy. It's not illegal to know how to do this, just illegal to actually do it against someone who hasn't asked you to. But it still feels wrong. And it really lets you know that all digital security is built on 2 things. Most people are trustworthy. There aren't enough people trying to steal data or hack systems, so most systems are safe enough to not worry about it. You're never going to stop the real hackers, the geniuses or the lucky breaks or the well-backed organizations. You just need to stop the know-nothings and then prepare for the fallout if something real happens. Fact 8. You do not have to talk to the police, answer their questions, in most situations. Learn this the hard way. My ex was accused of a crime he didn't commit. We thought that being honest and telling the cops exactly what happened and answering their questions would prove his innocence. We thought that our cooperation would show that we are good, honest people of good character. No and no. It did not do that. Words were twisted. Things were left out. He was charged $12,000 on lawyer, court fees, restitution, and a year of probation later. Do not answer any questions, even if you know you're innocent. Even if the cops seem chill and like they just need to get your side of things and then everyone can go on their merry way. Do not answer anything. My ex was terrible to me, but I will defend him on this one thing, forever. He didn't do what he was accused of. And even though it's been a few years, it still pisses me off so bad knowing that we could have kept our mouths shut and would have had a much better outcome. I know this now, but I'm still terrified about how I would handle it if I'm ever put in this situation again. Because not talking does feel illegal. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more exciting Reddit stories. Consider checking out our other videos as well. It would mean the world to us.